What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're using a new feature I think everybody's using now because of this whole stuff going on, which is Zoom. And we brought Chris in here. So what's up, Chris?
What's happening, guys?
How's it doing up there in the north?
Man, we got about 3 inches of wet snow last night.
Still?
And yeah, but today here, I was just outside getting some firewood in, and we've about melted off the grass, and pretty wet out.
Gotcha. It's pretty cold here today. It's really windy. No snow, fortunately, but I was getting some pictures from the farm, and it was snow there.
I believe it.
But everything's greening up here.
It's starting to. I was just checking my crab apples. The buds are opening.
Well,
I didn't look at the tree. Yeah, I didn't look at the pear tree. I looked at it 3 days ago, and the buds were still tight and closed. So
another 2-3 weeks, they'll be out.
Yeah. The weather's gonna start being warmer longer.
Yeah, definitely.
And not dipping down so deep into the freezing temps.
Right. Yeah. So plan-wise, what do you got coming up?
I personally, here at my house, am going to create new stuff. So people have to follow on and watch that. But it's going to be total redos. I'm going to totally work the dirt and plant new stuff. And one other larger project that I took on is acquired a piece of property that you're familiar with here locally.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, you were involved. Dave and I went and staked out an acreage that we wanted to actually put the plot into. And it is an old horse pasture that hasn't seen anything for 12 years, I believe. And the last thing in it was corn. And I went ahead and soil sampled it, and surprisingly came back at a 6.0.
Not too bad.
I was kind of happy with that.
Yeah.
But I had samples done through Penn State. They still recommended a high dosage of lime. So I went ahead and put a ton per acre on.
All right, well, I know me and you did a ton together.
Yes, and last week I did a ton by myself.
Right.
So we have a ton per acre on there, and I should have moved, I'm thinking a half a point, maybe a third, I don't know.
No, just recheck it next year, and like you said, it could probably be up to a 6.5, 6.6, something like that.
Yeah, we'll see. But through spring and summer planting and fall planting, foiler feeding with that stuff. You know that stuff. What's that stuff called you use there all the time?
I have no idea.
That spray stuff.
The liquid stuff.
That liquid stuff
that's got a sticker and surfactant in it.
Yeah.
The antler grow.
That stuff.
Okay. Now we know.
Yeah, that stuff. Through using that antler grow stuff and that liquid fertilizer stuff they have.
Yep.
The NPK, Farmer's Touch. Why we should have that field doing really well by next year. This year it's the first year. I mean, it's going to go okay. Believe me, it's going to go good. But
here's the question, though.
Next year's going to be the bomb.
Here's the question: what are you planting?
Well, it is in the back corner of a field. So what I'm trying to do is I'm not even necessarily doing it to hunt the deer. There's no ag left in my area. All the farmers have dried up or died or retired, whatnot. Even some of them took the government funding and things, and they aren't actually planting anything anymore in their fields. They're leaving them fallow, which is totally obscene to me, but whatever. Anyhow, I want to obviously I'm going to do 2 acres of buckwheat in there, and that's always a go-to in the spring. My soil samples were a little low. The cation exchange and soil organic matter was low. So I'm going to do a couple doses of buckwheat throughout the whole area, which is gonna be approximately 2.5 acres of buckwheat. So put that all in, and right up against the woods, I've laid out the plot that the plot will be out from the edge of the woods some, because I know the sun sets on that side, so there's going to be limited sunlight throughout the day. It's going to get the morning sun, and afternoon time when the sun goes over the trees, I'm going to have shaded area there. So I'm going to put shade tolerant clovers and some dwarf X6 rape I'm going to try in there because it's pretty shade tolerant also. So that type of thing on the edge of the woods line for a buffer zone there. So they'll come out and graze, just come out, tinker around there before they bust out into the main branch, which after summertime there towards fall is going to be a mixture of brassicas, of course.
So you're gonna plant the buckwheat maybe 1 to 2 rotations throughout the spring and summer.
I'm gonna try to get 2 rotations. I'm gonna let it go to seed.
Yep.
I'm planning on letting it go to seed.
Yep.
I'm gonna overseed it with more before I terminate it. I'm gonna run through it with a brush hog, and that's gonna spread that many more seeds. Yep. So I'm not gonna have to have a lot of seeds.
Now, when you say terminate, you're just brush hogging it and tilling it back in. You're not spraying it with chemicals to kill it.
I am not using chemicals. I'm going to brush hog it.
Yep.
And let it lay on top of the seed that I just spread.
And just work that back into the soil to build up organic matter.
Yeah, I'm not even going to work the ground probably. I'm probably just going to cultipack the crap out of it.
Gotcha.
Push it down into the dirt.
Now, after plantings in at the end of the summer, before you plant the fall, are you gonna till it?
Then it's going to be worked in.
Gotcha.
Yes, I am. We'll be working the dirt then. We're going to get that all down where it needs to be under the dirt, and then that's when we're going to use, like I said, a mixture of some clovers and some brassicas.
Cool.
I'm gonna do some hybrid stuff this year.
And around this whole plot, we're planting
around the edges,
Egyptian wheat wall.
Yes, I'm going to put an Egyptian wheat wall because there is a parallel road to this field, and I'm going to screen that all off to keep the people spotlighting and whatever out.
I mean, it's a pretty far distance between the road and the plot. But
there is.
Here, when the woods is back here, so when the deer come out, they're not going to be able to see beyond that, so it actually makes the plot look a lot smaller.
It is, but they are going to feel so secure and so comfortable coming out.
Right.
And I'm betting there's going to be a ton of daylight deer in there all the time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. They won't be able to see beyond that. It'll block road noise and and all that stuff too. So
in the back of this field, along the edge, like I said, gonna plant that buffer zone of shade tolerant stuff, and then I have the plot sitting out in the total sun. And then beside that, we're gonna do about an 8-foot wide strip of the Egyptian wheat, and on the outside of that, the landowner has requested sunflowers. So that was part of the deal to getting the land. They wanted to.
What's wrong with that?
They wanted to make it look pretty, and sunflowers are cheap and easy.
Yeah. So, well, that'd be pretty cool seeing the sunflowers. Then they'll get whatever 6-8 feet tall. Then you'll have the Egyptian wheat behind that. It'll be taller.
Yes.
It'll be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it'll make a nice looking area, and the landowner will be happy that something's actually being grown in there, and the landowner is actually way on board with this now since I've talked to her last. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Pretty cool. So that little buffer zone between the woods or at the woods, you'll have that buffer zone.
Yeah.
It's going to be clover and whatever else we plant. Are you going to till that back in for the fall, or just let that go?
I think I'm going to let that go.
Leave it year round.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it go. At first, I'll probably try to put some fast annuals in it, mixed in, and it'll probably be. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's probably going to be Dutch white because it's a shade tolerant, and probably just some reds and whites. And then, like I said, later on in the fall, I'll probably top dress with a little bit of rape X6 for some brassica and ground cover, shade tolerant, hold some moisture and things.
Yeah.
But I just like that little buffer zone. You know, deer like to come out before they enter a big field. They like to stand on edge. They're a creature of edge. They like to look. They like to get on the edge and look out, see if there's any does out there. You know, if it's a buck or if it's a doe with their fawns, they want to look. They want to look around, be safe, make sure no predators are around for their fawns or whatnot. You know, it's going to be a safe zone. It's going to be real nice. It's going to be all encased.
You know what I'm excited about?
Hmm.
When you're looking at the woods,
Yeah.
I remember right slightly to the left, if you're standing in the middle of the field,
Correct.
a giant white oak tree.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to spray that thing with the pressure washer and antler grow, and I want to see what happens with it, because you'll have the woods, you'll have that oak tree, then you got the buffer zone, then you got the plot.
Yeah.
Great.
And something else to think about, which I was just over there looking at it the other day. There's a few spots that the landowner obviously had fenced off for the animals, and there's some spots that are fences not down, but there's a couple strands missing or whatever. Man, is there some killer zones right there, some paths and things where the deer are entering the field.
Right.
There's gonna be a couple predictable spots, like if a guy wanted to hunt it, but I'm gonna try to stay out of there. I'm gonna try to plan it all and just stay out and just let the deer do their thing and get comfortable and enjoy it, and feed them and let the ribs disappear with some fat and just feed my critters, man. Keep them coming around. Hey, and the neighbors are gonna benefit.
Yeah, it's big enough to where it's set up. You got neighbors, property adjoins it and everything. But like you said, it's going to benefit everybody.
Yeah, and I've had a couple of neighbors already approach me and say, hey, if you're ever going to do anything in that field, because they know I do a lot of food plotting in the area. They said, if you ever get that field, let us know. If you ever get around to like planting beans or corn or something, we'll pitch in and help you pay for it. So that's a pretty cool thing. A couple of the neighbors want to get on board, maybe, possibly in the future, if I can swing, first of all, learning how to use that planter, because I'm a city guy, hence city sticker name. City guy doesn't know how to use those planters yet, but I have some in-laws that they know farming, and if I acquire a planter, why, there's going to be a crash course, and I might be doing some planting. I might even get some field corn, and we might even try it just for fun and giggles with the Furminator.
Yeah, definitely see what happens.
Because I found a company out of Texas that I can get a 50-pound bag of field corn for like $75. That's cheap.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
So we may just experiment with that, just for fun, just see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I got 6.0 on the outside. All it would cost me is a couple bags of fertilizer to get it all started. Got to pound it with nitrogen at first. I do know that.
Well, that's a good point about the nitrogen thing, because I was talking to Jeff earlier this morning, and some people were calling him and everything, and about clovers and and doing spraying certain things and everything. But a lot of people don't understand that. We'll just say clovers. When you do a soil sample and you ask, you're telling them that you're going to plant clover, they put on their recommendation of nitrogen, and everybody freaks out. Like, why are you recommending nitrogen at planting for clover when clover is nitrogen fixing? And a lot of people skip that step, and it's a huge mistake, because they think if you throw nitrogen down it, you're going to grow weeds. And yeah, it's possible you'll get some weeds in there. Anytime you have a perennial plot, you're going to have to deal with some weeds. But clovers, do not produce nitrogen until they produce nodules, and nodules grow on the roots. That's a long process before that clover plant produces that nodule in order for it to produce nitrogen. A blank seed just doesn't produce nitrogen. It
Yeah.
has to grow and develop into a plant and create a nodule.
Yeah. So, in other words, to clarify, if there's any really bad newbies out there, what he's saying is when you're going to plant clover from scratch, you have to have a starter fertilizer with it. You have not necessarily starter, but you have to have a recommendation.
Yeah, follow the soil sample.
For fertilizer. They're going to recommend what you put in, and they're like, hey, well, doesn't clover have nitrogen? Well, no, it doesn't with the seed. You have to add it at first to get it rolling and get it up out of the ground.
All plants need nitrogen.
Everything needs a starter.
Everything needs it.
It needs a starter. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that seems like common sense, but there's so many people out there that don't get that right now.
I see it all over like the Facebook groups and stuff all the time. Like, why are you adding nitrogen to this? And why are you planting? Why? It's like, dude, it doesn't produce nitrogen until it creates a nodule.
Correct.
It's the same with all plants, even beans. Beans produce nodules on the root systems, and that's what fixes the nitrogen.
Yeah.
And even like clover, say it's a foot tall and you mow it. When you mow it, it actually encourages that plant, the nodules, to produce nitrogen.
Yep. Just like cutting your grass at home. When you cut it, it wants to grow.
Yes.
It encourages new growth. So
definitely.
And that's how to increase your palatability too.
Yeah, definitely.
If you get clovers that are, you got guys that are saying, I got clovers a foot tall, 2 feet tall. Why? What's eating it that high?
Yeah.
I don't think much. You should be cutting at least a half of that down and encouraging new growth for tender shoots, increased palatability. I don't know why someone lets their clover get 2-3 feet high. That's ridiculous.
I mean, whenever it gets to, when it starts creating the seed head, let them create the seed head, then mow it, because that's going to encourage, encourage regrowth.
Yeah, if you want it to go to seed and reproduce, yes, let it go to seed, then cut it and spread them out.
Yep.
But if you got 3 foot stuff that already went to seed,
it's no good.
No good.
Yeah.
No good. It's going to get stemmy.
Yeah.
It's going to get stemmy and hard, and then it's not going to be the favored food in the plot.
Well, that's another thing we can talk about real quick is stemmy. Plants getting stemmy. Yeah. And I see a lot of mistakes that on a fall plot, people plant especially like even winter wheat and such. They plant it way too early into the summer, and by the time deer season comes around, the deer aren't eating it because the brassicas have became too big and they're too stemmy.
Yeah.
So anytime you plant your fall plot, you only have to plant 45, 50, 55 days or something before your recommended or average frost. That way the plant's still young, it's tender, it's palatable. Even like rye, wheat, oats, things like that, it can get too stemmy. You know what I mean? And it just becomes unpalatable.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I see. You mentioned the Facebook posts and forums and things. I've seen a lot of guys asking, have you ever tried planting brassicas in the spring? And that's not a good, I guess they would eat the greens off of them, but it's not a good idea if you're looking to create the bulbs, thinking that they're going to come and dig up bulbs and eat them. That's not going to happen early in the spring.
Right.
But yeah, I actually see guys asking about doing brassicas in the spring.
Yeah, I don't
think that's going to work out too good for you.
I mean, I guess if you do it, it could help. They'll definitely probably eat it, but it could help with building organic matter.
It could help. Here's a couple ways. You could help with organic matter, and if it's turnips, you could break the hard pan, go down and bust up the soil.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the only good things I could amount from it. I don't think it would be a good food source per se.
Not really.
I think it would just be to benefit your soil for later. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking to do that, yeah, okay, go for it. But it's not going to be a good food source, I would not think.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I'm no expert, but I think common sense would tell you that.
Oh, you're the expert.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I'm the expert.
I still make mistakes.
Everybody makes mistakes. If you're not, If you're not making mistakes, you're not doing enough.
Yeah, if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. But here's the thing. Do not take bad advice from Facebook posts or forums.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you know they're bad? You may not at first, but if you're willing to try things, which I would encourage to try things, but as you try them, learn from what you've done, and you'll be a much better plotter as you progress. But
You're,
the worst case scenario, you're going to burn a bag of seed.
mm-hmm.
You
Big deal.
might lose $30 or something, but you could always save a plot as long as it's not too close to a frost. You could always put something else in if something didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't want to discourage anybody from trying something, but there's a few things that I've tried that failed at. So,
Well, there's a lot of bad advice out there.
yeah.
A lot of it in regards to food plots. And people, like you said, people are afraid to try certain things. And just because one person says something doesn't mean that it'll work everywhere. Each every person's property is different in its own way. How big the plot is, what kind of soil you're working with, how large the plot is, what your goals are, what's around your property, what's on your property.
Geographically in the nation.
Yes, there's so many variables. So just because somebody says you have to do it this way doesn't mean anything.
No.
Get out there, take information, learn for yourself, take information, read about certain plants, read about this, read about that, and go implement that. Come up with your own idea, implement that on your property, and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then refine it. Do something different. Like you said, you're out a bag of seed. Whip-de-do. But you'll gather more about that from doing it than just listening to somebody else. Sure, listen to take whoever you want to listen to, take the advice, but it's still ultimately up to you.
Yeah, and listening to some of these guys that have experience, that's like you said, that's fine, but some of them have bad habits too, though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, you and I talk behind the scenes. Sometimes we watch somebody's video and we're like, did you see that plot? This guy's giving consulting information and his plots are nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, if he was showing good, green, lush plots, you would be more apt to follow their information a little more closely. Some of these guys, wow. Not saying that they're giving bad information, but it could be their geographical region too, though. It might be the kind of soil that's in their area and whatnot. I'm not trying to bash anybody, but I'm just saying, be careful.
Well, that's what I say. There's a lot of bad advice out there in regards to food plots, and I think a lot of it is how it's done, how it's implemented, but it's also a lack of seed. Because another major issue with food plots is somebody will go to the store and buy, say, I don't know, just a 10-pound bag of something. On that bag, it may say plants a half an acre.
Oh, yeah.
Well, in that bag is a mixed variety of seeds, large, small, medium seeds, if it says plants half acre. So people think, oh, wow, this really does plant a half acre. They put it in their hand spreader, and you have to open the spreader up to the largest seed, right? You start walking, you start cranking that seed out, and you covered your half acre, and all of a sudden it comes up and you got sprigs, one here, one here, one every 6 feet, and you're left with bare soil or bare ground. Then you allow weeds to come up and all this other stuff, and you have a crappy food plot. Well, it's not because the seed was bad. It's because you didn't use enough seed. You're not compensating for seeds that's not going to germinate. You're not compensating for crows that come in and peck the seeds. You're not compensating for turkeys that come in and peck the seeds. You're not compensating for anything. So you're left with a lot of bare soil because of poorly labeled bag of seed.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them I'm sure, stretch the truth a little for sales
Yeah.
purposes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like looking at a label, all the inoculant, is part of the weight of the bag. Weed seed, you got to read the label and be smart about that too, and check the dates.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those bags of seed, like the no-till type stuff, it's all for freaking ryegrass.
Yeah, for ryegrass,
Yeah. No good.
definitely.
No good.
But I'm guilty of overseeding a lot, and I do it on purpose. Now, I'm not telling everybody to overseed, but trial and error will tell you this, and a lot of food plotting is trial and error. But there is a certain balance. You can overseed so much. Too much, like where it could help, where it could hurt you, for example, would probably be like a buckwheat field or a brassica. If it was planted straight, I could see in those two areas, if you overseeded too much, you're going to actually stunt your own growth, I think, because you're overcrowding everything so much.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So I mean, in those type of situations, I think you could overseed too much.
Well, that's where it goes back to nothing's the same.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, and
nothing.
everybody, this guy says you need 200 pounds of that and 150 pounds of that and 100 pounds of that on an acre. On an acre, you got like 350 pounds on an acre? I can't see that. That's kind of crazy.
Right.
I mean, I know your cover crop stuff you do have to put on pretty heavy, but
Man, well, it's like for brassicas, those definitely you can overseed too many. When you overseed, you get smaller leaves,
smaller leaves,
like smaller bulbs, and that's fine if you want to do it that way. But if you use less, you'll get larger leaves, larger bulbs, but you'll have less plants, basically.
There again, you need to ask yourself, what do you want?
Right.
What's your end game here? Because if you overseed like crazy, like Dave just said, and you get so many green tops are great. They love to come in there and hammer them green tops. But, they're going to be smaller. Now, if you go sparser, like he said, and you say you want the bulbs, you want the bigger bulbs, there again, like he said, you're going to have less seed in the ground and bigger bulbs and things, but less plants, less tops for eating.
Right.
And one thing we see a lot is people always saying, well, deer aren't eating my brassicas. Why? There's a palatability issue there. If you didn't amend your soil and fertilize properly, stuff isn't going to be as palatable.
Right.
We like to use the antler growth spray, which makes a lot of stuff very attractive to animals. So there's things you can do to change the game.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's always an angle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's always an angle.
Yeah.
Another thing you can definitely overseed is Egyptian wheat. If you put too much Egyptian wheat, it definitely will shunt it. It'll be too crowded, won't grow as tall, and you'll get weak stalks. So if you plant that just right, as long as you plant wide enough, you plant just right seed wise, that's when you'll get 10, 12, 13, 14 feet tall, and you'll have stronger stalks to where later in the year it'll hold up more.
Now what's really cool is you and I have been afforded the situation of acquiring a machine that we like to use called the Furminator G3. Man, I can't wait to throw down Egyptian wheat and sunflowers with that this year.
Oh yeah, well you can plant straight rows. It's 4 feet wide.
Yeah, you can exactly measure width.
Right.
4 feet and 4 feet, get an 8-foot width wall.
Right.
I can't wait. It's going to look uniform. It's going to look cool.
Oh yeah.
And Furminator is so cool because you can lay out a plot the way you want it. You can screen it the way you want it. You can build a bottleneck or something and put a stand at the end of it and draw deer down into that narrow opening. I mean, the Furminator can do a lot of things. You can bend, you can make shaped plots. I mean, it's cool stuff.
Well, we got a lot of cool things we're gonna do. We're gonna do at the property this year. With walls and beams and fences and all kinds of stuff. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
it's exciting.
We're mid-May or so we're about 6 weeks, 7 weeks out from planting. But we got turkey season coming up.
Yeah.
We got tractor rentals coming up.
Yeah, we got work to do.
Well, I should say skid steer rentals coming up.
Yeah.
We're fixing a road, ripping out some trees, expanding plots, planting Chris's place, planting the farm. The list goes on.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully we do a little more consultant stuff too.
Yeah, definitely. We got that mixed in, and
Got a couple people to go see yet.
yeah. So yeah. With that said, we're running out of time.
All right, man.
So we're out. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to that guy's channel.
Yeah,
Which is
City Sticker Chris.
okay.
YouTube.
Subscribe if you guys are new. Ask questions if you guys have any food plot questions. Post them down below, and we'll probably be doing some more of these. So we'll see you guys later.
See you guys.
Later.
Bye.